Okay. Finally got around to getting my second build to a point where it's worth talking about. I've been trying to replicate the idea of stacking anger, but now let's do it with hatred. So stacking hatred is more expensive. The reason for that is that hatred is just a far more popular skill. It's far more powerful when you get a lot of effect out of it. So there are certain items that are just not attainable by me. But right now, we are at a point where we have a hatred that reserves 87.5% of mana. And I think we have like 69% increased effective hatred. And then of course, like 45% more effective hatred. Right, so thereabouts, 44% more effective hatred. So all in all, our hatred does an insane part of our damage. My Glacial Cascade has a tooltip of 63,000, and if I take away my Cascade, my hatred, 1 second, I go down to 26. So 200% more damage, almost. Is that accurate? Yeah, 170-ish% more damage just from hatred, which is fantastic. That is a lot of payout. We're running low life. We are strength stacking, which gives us our energy shield, and we are running some of the new Pathfinder passives, which are actually semi-functional. So if we turn on all our flasks, then we see that our defenses, we have 115. All of our resistances are balanced. How pretty. We don't have any resistance on gear. This is all pure flasks. And then we have 62 chaos resistance. We have some chaos resistance on gear. Now, the way that we actually maintain our flasks is that all of these flasks are reused at the end of flask effect, which means that we can use, what's this node called? Master Alchemist. Remove elemental ailments when you use a flask. This line is pointless, we don't use it. 50% chance for flasks you use not to consume charges. We do use that. Now, what you'll see is that we can't really maintain all our flasks, especially this movement speed flask, Quicksilver, mainly because it doesn't have increased flask charges gained. But we also can't really maintain the chemist flask. In about, on average, 4 or 5 minutes, this thing will stop refreshing, because we just don't have the right malt on it, and we just can't sustain it. Right now it says 26% reduced flask charges per use, but I wanted the chance to avoid being stunned, and this is good enough to maintain. This one has 3 charges when you're hit by an enemy. This one's the hardest to sustain, I'm pretty sure. They're about this, equally difficult. Yep. I like the movement speed. I like having 100% movement speed. It's just comfortable. 39% increase additional elemental resistances during effect. We need this. Without this, our resists are not capped. Increased effect, reduced duration, 3% regen. Increased effect, reduced duration. Spell damage, leash as energy shield. And then increased effect, reduced duration, reduced effect of shock. This is enough to effectively make all shocks 0%. Pantheon gets us around freeze. We do nothing to deal with chill. Strength 2.9k. I'll probably hit 3000. 200 int and 170 dex. Now the way we do this is by having a very long, let me move it over a little bit, and a winding path that goes all the way up here And then we have 2 split personality jewels. The split personality jewels that are cheapest for +5 strength also give you evasion. So that's what we use. +5 strength and 40 evasion, +5 strength and 40 evasion. Funny enough, because these are so far down the line, this is like 40 evasion times each of them is like 20, 22-ish. So yeah, it's like 40 times 40. It's like 1600 evasion just from these 2 jewels. And from our pathing, we went through these nodes here, which is 30% increased evasion, 12% and 12%. And then our dex gives us a little bit of evasion on top of that. I did have Mage Bane at some point, it's not worth it. Just getting the extra evasion is nice. We're using Supreme Ego. Supreme Ego gives us more effect of our hatred. It's a pretty big deal. We convert our dex to strength. We convert our dex to strength. We loop through here and we get skills cost 30% of life instead of mana, because mana sustain is a big issue, especially once you get a little bit of cast speed. Utmost might, and then we take 5% increased attributes. Might of the Meek over here, which tags this little node up here. Then we loop down and up through here. You'll see that we actually pick up a little bit of life. It's like 90-some% life. We detour through here just to make the chain longer, and I mean, we don't need the int, we do want the strength. Jewel socket that's readily available, not taking it. Iron Will, very important. It like gives our strength damage bonus on spells, so this is a massive amount of our increased spell damage. 2% energy shield regen. And then we take the long loop over here. Over here we start converting int into strength, same as over here. And then we picked up a cheap wheel which had +11 strength and some other attributes. And then we added onto that some clusters for increased flask effect duration. I am going to take this. So yeah, the build itself is super functional, and we are using the Dune Cherubel, whatever you call this thing. This is a pretty popular item for strength stackers, and it took a while before I got one that was like inspirational. The only item I kind of like crafted with the system that's in here for Crucible is I got a Elder Mace, because that's how you can get 3% increased area of effect per 50 strength. Then I got the 4% increased attributes on there, and then I got it with the 6% increased strength, and then I found out that I had hatred on here, and I was very, very happy. For the Dune Cherubel, we have some cold damage to spells and chance to freeze, spell crit chance, increased movement speed but no travel skills, Malevolence, which does nothing, and then we have Ice Novas on the final burst of a Glacial Cascade. It's worth noting that the Ice Nova uses the sockets of the scepter. It does not use the links that are part of your Glacial Cascade. Right, so it's nice, you can do some things. I could have gone with 10% chance to inflict brittle, but then I can't chill or freeze, and I don't think that's worth it. Increased effect of chill, like these nodes really are kind of stepping on each other along with this one. Other than that, we have a helmet which gives 15% increased strength. We have an amulet which gives 32% increased attributes. We have a Lori's Lantern which has 20% increased effect of hatred, 6% increased strength, And then a little bit of chaos resistance, some movement speed while on low life, enemies damaged while hitting me is unlucky while on low life, all good stuff. Our energy shield and Zealot's Oath come from the Joffrey Sanctuary. Then we have a Shaper's Touch with Curse Elemental Weakness. We have a, let's remove this, Cyclopean Coil. This is probably the most expensive item in my build, which I think I played like close to an Exalt for. Hatred, of not an Exalt, Divine Orb. 90% increased effective hatred, 18% increased attributes. And we have the Aberrant's Warpath, which is the cheapy version. Only 25% movement speed, but we get a lot from our other abilities. This means that we have one rare item here. This could be better, but getting a higher strength roll combined with this Elder mod is very challenging, very expensive. It's not challenging, you just have to pump in a lot of currency to keep rolling. It's like 1,000 Chaos Orbs if you just want to get a better strength roll combined with that mod. It's rough. You can't use the strength essences, right? This is a weapon, and because it's a weapon, you don't have the ability to use the strength essences. You get like fire penetration or something useless. No good way that I found to craft this guy. I just alt-regaled it. And then we have a ring. This ring has 0.4% cold damage leeches life. This is the only way we can gain life on this build. So pretty important. 50 strength and 33 chaos resistance and 13% increased damage. The increased fire damage does nothing. It's a blank mod. And over here the +1 level of Sacred Gems is kinda nice, but it's really just a 3 mod item, and this is really just a 4 mod item. Yeah. And for the flasks, increased effect, reduced duration, increased effect on all 3 of the elemental flasks, not on the chemist amethyst flask. I think this could be rolled better. And then we have the Quicksilver flask, which is, you know, really good. I think it could be better for this build, but I get hit enough that the charge gained when hit works out fine for me. So links, because this has been a bit of a mess. So I've got a Glacial Cascade. The Glacial Cascade has physical converted to cold, which is perfect for hatred stacking, right? So that worked out amazing. The area of effect is a little large. Now that last explosion you see is the Ice Nova. The Ice Nova has conk effect. Just like if we take this out, it gets bigger. If you do increased effect, you can actually hit behind you. It's pretty cute. Elemental Focus, I mean, we have enough cold damage hits coming out already. And then Controlled Destruction. Realistically, this thing isn't critting anyway. Arcane Surge, cast speed, regaining some mana, awesome. Intensify, reducing area of effect. This becomes really important when dealing with certain mobs. So if you have the proximity shield guys, because your Glacial Cascade knocks people back, you knock a proximity shield guy far enough back that you can't damage them anymore. Yeah. And the guys who have like the blue mana siphoning aura, you end up standing in that a lot because you push them away, putting yourself exactly that distance. It's not ideal. So Intensify, it gives us more damage when we want it. Concentrated Effect, because I mean without this you just, it goes way too far out. It's not worth it. Glacial Cascade, Empower, level 3. Super cheap. Really surprised at how cheap it is to buy a level 3 Corrupted Empower. And then we have Cold Penetration. Gems could be better. We have a Temporal Rift. This is our only get out of jail free card, which does pretty well with Arrogance. Then we have a Steel Skin, and we have a Divergent Hatred. Do you need Divergent Hatred? No. Nope, sure don't. Level 21 Hatred would probably be better. Clarity, Arrogance, Vitality, and Defiance banner. This is just to get to low life. Right now we have 1500 life, and we have 6,800 energy shield. We could have close to another 1000 life if we min-max this a little bit better. Not there yet. That's still some tweaking to do. We have increased duration with Bone Chill and Cold Snap and Unbound Ailments. This is just so that our DPS goes higher. This is also why I don't want to give up Chill, because it means that Bone Chill doesn't help us, you know, get more DPS on enemies when we actually need to stand still and deal with it there. Increased duration, Frost Bomb, and Void Sphere. It's useful to have the Void Sphere. It's not super useful. The Void Sphere, you have to position it right, because that way you can use the knockback to push people into the Void Sphere, and it's harder for them to get out. And it means that against a number of mobs, they can just not really get to you anymore. Alright, so let's take a look at what this looks like in the map. It's tier 16. That's probably not going to be a good demo. Players cannot regenerate life, mana, or energy shield. That's death on a stick. We're not as tolerant of map mods as my other character. Fizz, buffs expire faster, cursed ally weakness, that's all good. Alright, so this is tier 13. And there's a couple things worth noting when we're mapping. First thing, right now we are primed to die because our flasks are not up. Alright, our flasks are up, life is good. In general, you should be fine to just run around. You don't really need to use your other skills. If you get something that's annoying, then you can use your other abilities and, you know, kill it. But in general, it just is nice and comfy. Running around, you're super tanky, you have pretty good regeneration. A lot of these things could be better. Like, there's definitely a little bit of memeing going on, trying to get to 3000 strength. But you don't really need to do that. Hey, he pushed me. This map is not ideal, so there are certain maps you want to avoid. Any maps where it's important to be able to hop up and down are maps you want to not run when you have no movement skills. In this particular case, we don't have movement skills, but whatever. Is this one good? I don't remember. And what you see is that our flasks are pretty much always full. This is really good because it means that we have a little bit more time to help us in case we run into any issues. This is my next build. And because I found this staff, and this is actually one of the things I do want to talk about. This league, for people who like to build their own builds, has the most inspirational items that they've ever had in the game. It's awesome. I love it. I'm a big fan. Like, you can get these wonky uniques that you like, and you can just shove them into the Crucible until, you know, they come back with something that you say like, oh yes, that's what I want to play. I can do something with that. Now it also means that the cost for people to replicate builds is incredibly high. But that's not necessarily something that I'm worried about, because I'm not necessarily trying to copy other people's builds, and Mostly I focus my build, not even guides, my build discussions around the idea of like, these are the mechanics we're using. Mechanics we're using here, strength stacking, which is pretty well established. Strength stacking as a pathfinder isn't very common, but as you can see, we can keep our resists up and capped, or better than capped. We have like reduced elemental damage taken, and we didn't really sacrifice any suffixes, right? I didn't need to go to the expensive rare items that a lot of people would use for strength stacking. I could stick with the more budget unique items because I have plenty of resists that are already coming to me just from my flasks. So that's one of the reasons why strength stacking as a pathfinder is actually semi-practical. Yes, you don't have the percentage increased strength, but you do have the ability to very quickly solve problems that are normally... I should remember that these things killed me and not do it again. But you do have the ability to relatively easily solve the problems that you need your suffixes for. So if you don't need your suffixes, of course, then that means that you have more flexibility to add unique items. It means you have more flexibility to add strength item of things with higher strength. You don't need to have to look at like, okay, I need 5 perfect suffixes. You can instead say, I only need 2 perfect suffixes on this item. Right? My ring has strength. It has chaos resistance. The base type is really bad. It has 1 prefix, and that was all that I needed out of my ring. So my ring is effectively pretty close to best in slot unless you have an absolutely obscene amount of money to throw into a build like this, which you can. Right? It's a stat stacking build. You can absolutely put obscene amounts of money into those. As you can see, like as long as I'm not an idiot, we're fairly tanky. We take a lot of less damage of different elements. Big physical hits are a problem. We have a little bit of ability to avoid bleeds. If we get corrupted blood, it's just mainly frustrating. And a lot of different mobs just can't really close in on you when you're playing. Is this an all-rounder? No. Is this a very comfy mapper? Yep, sure is. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Again, unique. The passive tree, of course, you're not going to have the same passive tree, but this mace base is 5C. This took some crafting. A lot of alterations, like hundreds of alterations. And then a regal, and then you have to get lucky and get an open suffix and craft strength on it. That's your best bet. Building this tree is doable. Like, you know, you just have to get the different nodes on there. And in reality, we are running 2 nodes that give us 10% increased strength. Which, you know, for people who are playing like standard, this is an insanely good item. But for this league, this is completely achievable. The amount of damage that you can get from hatred, I mean, the more multiplier out of hatred with this compared with Supreme Ego, absolutely amazing, right? 30% increased arrow effect, 25% increased reservation. That means that if you have 40% more reservation, you reserve like 87% of your mana and you have an amazing item, or an amazing buff you get out of your hatred. Hatred corrupted mods, like we have over here and over here, are not very valuable. Right, so getting more effective hatred through some corrupted items is relatively cheap. I mean, these gloves with the curse is like 25 chaos, which is cheap. This with the quality, with the corruption, was like a divine. 5 chaos? I think this was like 25 chaos. I think this was around divine too. And again, this is like an item that most stat stackers can't use. Right? They need they need some resistances somewhere. And giving up your amulet is a pretty hard ask when you're already giving up your chest, your glove, your helmet, your boots, your belt. Right? There's no resists, no resists. 15 chaos resists. 15 all elements. That's actually pretty good. And no resists. So yeah, this worked pretty well. Anyway, that is kind of for the build set. I'm actually really enjoying this league. I'm still playing, which is not common that this league, in a weird league, I would still be playing the game. So yeah, I'm super happy with how this league is progressing. I'm excited to add a little bit more experience to this character, getting my strength to 3000, because, you know, that seems like a nice round number to try and achieve. And then the other thing is that after this, we are going on to this disintegrator build, which has Val Volcanic Fissure and Val Molten Strike. Volcanic Fissure is what we'll be using. 80% reduced soul gain prevention. This is super easy to get to 100% reduced soul gain prevention, and then you got to have a lot of fun. This particular one has 10% increased dexterity and some accuracy, plus 90 dexterity and gain no inherent bonuses from dexterity. I mean, this means that our dex is taken care of between these two nodes, but it doesn't give us anything. Herald of Ash has 90% increased buff effect. That's pretty exciting. And then a little bit of physical damage and reduced attack speed. I mean, our attack speed isn't going to be very good anyway, because we'll be running our Val Volcanic Fissures, and we need a way to get those 15 souls or 25 souls per use. So leveling this guy up for the next build, or probably a refactor of my first build. But this is doing actually really well, and I'm actually having a lot of fun blasting through endgame, which is normally something that doesn't really hold much appeal for me. So yeah, it's a good league. If you haven't checked it out, or you're not playing it, find a wonky unique that you liked in the past and see if you can find one with a passive tree that is inspiring. And I think that that is the biggest thing for this entire league, is it provides you with inspiring items by making all the uniques that existed before fresh again and interesting and fun, and you can do stuff with it. So experiment.